thank you for doing this. And also just to kind of give everyone the heads up, I think I have unlimited Zoom access, but we might hit the 40 minutes. If I get a warning, I'll make sure to tell everyone. We might have to come back in if we're running a little long. So with that being said, I'm not going to take up your all's time. I probably need to make you all hosts though, so you can share your screen.
Yes.
Should be done. And I'll just step back.
Sure. So welcome and thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk with you all. I want to introduce myself. I'm Hannah Williams-McNamee. I'm the Assistant Director of the Student Success Center and a Success Coach. And Melanie, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Melanie Ford. I'm the Principal Systems Analyst for Student Affairs and oversee the kind of back end, the technical side of our Beacon product, which is going to be what we'll be discussing today. And Hannah helps with a lot of the operational, the functional side of things. So I'm going to let her kick off today's presentation, and then we'll talk about navigating through Beacon here in a minute.
Yes. So as Melanie said, I am overseeing a lot of kind of the content, the faculty relationships. Melanie helps things work, especially Beacon, and it's a tool that has a lot of layers that we're going to learn a little bit about today. Before I share my screen, I wanted to just kind of give a quick why Beacon, why we're here. So Beacon has been at Shepherd for a little bit now, and within the last 6 months, Melanie and I have been working really closely with Julia Franks and a lot of other folks, and we've talked to a lot of different campus groups, deans, departments, et cetera. And we appreciate this opportunity as well to share a little bit about kind of our vision for Beacon and how it's rolling out, even live right now. Like, I should probably check in, see what's been posted. And it's been going really well. We've been getting a lot of response and engagement, which is great. So I'm going to go over how on the Student Success Center website, you can do pretty much everything from here. So faculty and staff, Student Success Center will get you here. We have our own Beacon button, and this is going to take you to our recently revamped access and resources for faculty and staff. So I want to draw your attention to the colorful buttons at the top. This is a great starting point. You can post a quick notification for any student on campus. That will take you to the quick notification tool, which includes some of this lingo that I'm going to talk about, but you can create a notation right from here. And I think especially as you're getting started, this is a great place to start, and Melanie will talk about that tool. You can access the Beacon website. We have created brief training videos, and by brief, I think 2.5 minutes might be the longest one. So we get that it's a lot to kind of sit there and process, and we've broken it up into different categories, whether it's logging in, posting, replying, or navigating. It's all right here for you. And we're still working on those as well. If you were at any of our other presentations, we've been giving out this Beacon flyer that's pictured right here. We also have a printable copy available as PDF as well that breaks down a lot of the important points that we've been going over with faculty and staff. So part of what we want to share today is a little overview of the 3 notation types. So language is really important in Beacon, and language kind of helps tell us as administrators, and I think it helps staff and faculty kind of understand what it is you're doing. So we're very specific with the language. The 3 notation types that exist in Beacon, the 3 kinds of things that you can post. One, you can post an update. An update we are defining as relevant, new, valuable information about a student's decisions, experience, needs. And we've given some examples of what topics that might include. So this is maybe you've had a conversation with the student and they're sharing something about their decision about major. Maybe they're having some kind of red flag conversations about, I've missed a few assignments, and you kind of see some signs. An update is a really useful tool because that update will be seen by Beacon responders and everyone in that student success network. And success network is another term that I want to pause at. So students are connected to a success network, which could include Shepherd Success Academy coach like myself, veterans, international students, athletes, faculty advisors, TRIO counselors, those figures on campus that really do make up a network. Alert is the second type of notation that I want to touch on. Alerts are items that require timely action. So time sensitivity is kind of the biggest criteria we're giving to an alert that requires timely action from the student, from the Student Success Network, that something needs to happen. We often use an example that you'll see here in this little chart. They are in danger of failing, and of course, and they need to make a decision about that course, which we know requires talking with their advisor, maybe going to the Advising Assistance Center for support, maybe going to financial aid. Items actually have to happen as soon as possible. An academic policy deadline is approaching. So next month, for example, we're looking at the deadline to withdraw from a full semester course. So in our minds in the Student Success Center and lots of other folks, you know, Matt's here and knows this as well, those deadlines really give us a timeline of action and what needs to happen. Missing 3 or more consecutive classes. So that is a little more alarming, and then we know that all kinds of scenarios can take place. So anything that is immediate or severe that you're noticing in class or with a student that you interact with in your office. The third is encouragement. So in Beacon, you have the ability to share an encouragement, which is a positive update that would be visible to the student and their success network. That is anything that you would want to share, maybe even in addition to, you know, telling them after class or whatever it may be, that they're making really good progress. Maybe they did really well on a group project, and not the most utilized notation, but it is there. We do focus a lot on updates and alerts here. The next section of the website that I want to direct your attention to is using categories. So categories and their use now is a good example of the way we're using Beacon a little more intentionally and using the tool of categories. So when you go to post a notation, update, alert, encouragement, you can assign a category to it. And we have them listed here. Everything from missed assignments to financial to health and well-being. And these categories capture hopefully a good breadth of student experience, and the category determines the action and drives the action. Each category has a Beacon responder who is a trained individual or individuals within an office to address that notation. So for example, in the Student Success Center, we oversee the category of attendance. And that has been a really popular one so far this semester. So that is one that we have our eyes on every day. And again, whether the attendance notation is an update or an alert depends on severity, time sensitivity. I know Yield was with us. So I think about the first year writing program. I know the attendance policy in that program, it caps at 3 unexcused absences, and then anything beyond that can affect the grade. So these are things to take into consideration. And ultimately, after a notification is posted, there's a lot of like, what's next? What happens now? So another thing we really wanted to share with you all today is that all notations and notifications that are posted are viewed by Beacon responders. We have everyone from Academic Support Center, the Dean of Students, advising assistants, financial aid, all the key players looking at their category and connecting. So Beacon is meant to be this kind of streamlining of our campus community and how we help our students, because we're all doing this work in our inboxes and emailing each other and stopping by. And this is a way to centralize and focus a lot of that intervention and attention. And by posting in Beacon, you are giving faculty and staff who are connected to that student a really valuable opportunity to see information and get context to be able to work, you know, through a student situation more effectively. A lot of it is just that good to know. I'm really glad I know this, all in one place. And everything that is posted in Beacon is governed by FERPA. So these are need to know, this is protected Melanie can talk a little bit about access and who can see what in Beacon, basically. But rest assured about that factor. We have quick tips and resources. I'll show you an example, Beacon buzzwords. So I used a lot of language going through the website. This is all in one place, again, printer friendly, that you can use. We have a couple scenarios, and our contact information is down here at the bottom. I really wanted to highlight that. Melanie and I welcome your emails or calls if you need to talk through a scenario of something you might want to post. We have in the works a how should I say this sheet, which I will add to this quick tips and resources. So a lot of hesitation or apprehension about Beacon is not really being sure how to word something, especially if it's kind of sensitive. So we've given kind of a template of language to use, and just know that posting it is the most important thing. If we need more information, we'll reach out and we will get that. Same goes for any Beacon responder to make sure that student gets connected to the right resource that they need. Melanie, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think that was really great. I think if we could just take maybe a minute to
Sure.
show the up at the top of this page, we have those two PDF documents. I think highlighting the second one, which is the categories.
I'll pull up this one.
Just want to take a quick look. I think everybody on the call or who's watching the video today can take their own time to really get familiar with some of the questions that we posted on this PDF. It allows you to maybe think through, okay, is the student going through X, Y, or Z? And if that is the case, it might align with the category that we have posted. If you're also questioning, who is that responder? So Hannah mentioned that we have a responder, a trained individual on campus who's going to actively and consistently go into Beacon and see what type of updates have been provided about a student, maybe with missed assignments or financial, or who's being recommended to possibly withdraw from one of the courses that you're teaching, and allowing that person to then do a reach out for those individuals. And so I think this is a very useful tool that when you're just questioning something, categories is absolutely what's going to drive the data that we're learning, and then sharing up to our vice presidents, both in enrollment management, student affairs, and academic affairs. They're very much on board with the data that we're collecting and helping them make some bigger decisions for how we support our students.
Yes, to Melanie's point, what we'll be able to learn even at the end of this academic year about categories selected and frequency and volume of alerts and updates. And I think there's a lot that we can call from this information that Beacon can provide us with.
Absolutely. So I think where we'll go from here is, as Hannah's pulling up a short presentation that's going to guide us through the next part of today's presentation, I'm also going to talk about the different users that are in the system and the roles that we have provided individuals, because I think that helps give some context as to, like, well, who can see this? And I'm not really sure when I select the professional network that I understand who is the professional network and who's actually going to see the words that I'm saying. So I'm going to try to make this very brief. I'm going to start with the faculty. And so all faculty are either teaching classes, right? And or you are an advisor. So there are going to be some different times that I talk during the next part of this presentation that I identify you as an instructor, or I identify you as a faculty member. All faculty advisors are in the system as such. They are in the system with a role called advisor, and that allows you to have access to, and only to, the individual students that you have as advisees. So in Banner, if you are connected to a student because they are your advisee, then they should be connected to you in Beacon. And so as you log into Beacon and you see the list of students on the home page, those should be your advisees. There is going to be a little bit of a lag time, right? So if a student changes advisors in Banner, it might take a day or two to show up when that change on the Beacon system. but trust that it will come through, and you're always more than welcome to email me and let me know that a student isn't showing up for you, or maybe a student who is showing shouldn't be showing. So I'm going to take this time to walk through this presentation. What I'd love for those of you that are on the call today, take a moment to log into Beacon and possibly walk through the items that I'm going to discuss. For purposes of protection of data, I'm not going to share my screen and kind of do a larger walkthrough because of my personal access being a system admin. There would be students on here that I wouldn't want everyone to see. So those of you that are on the call, or if you're following along in the video, take some time to go out to either Shepherd University's website, and under the faculty tab, you are going to see the Beacon link. If you've been with us throughout the presentation, Hannah also showed how you could log into Beacon directly from the Student Success Center. And then the other place I would like to point out is you are, as a faculty member, are able to access the Beacon system through Brightspace. So if you happen to have Brightspace open right now, if you go to faculty resources, at the very bottom of that list of links, you will see the Beacon login and can access Beacon through any of those items or any of those places. And obviously, as you'll see, you'll need to go ahead and put your Shepherd email address in and the password that you use to log into the system and so forth so that you can access Beacon. So hopefully, as I was going through that, everyone now has Beacon open. And I'm going to talk through some of the things that you should be seeing. If you have questions while we're going through this, feel free to put them in the chat or maybe write them down so that you can email Hannah and I. And we're going to take all of those questions, answer them individually, or provide them into a larger resource, which we're going to be emailing out to all faculty later this week. So let's talk about the home screen. As you log into Beacon, the instructor that logs into Beacon may not see or will not see profiles of the students that are in your course. You will see advisees that you are assigned to, and that's going to be listed on the right-hand side. Instructors that are logged into Beacon, however, will see a notation that you, the faculty member, posted on a student that might be in your class. Okay, so over on the left-hand side, you're going to see a series of notations. Those notations are going to be ones you created as an instructor, as a faculty member, and possibly somebody that you have had in class. As an advisor, you will also be seeing notations that have been submitted by other members of our campus, whether that's other faculty, staff, and administrators. You're going to be able to see notations about your advisees. As I mentioned, over on the right-hand side, the student section, the students are going to be listed, excuse me, in the order of open alerts. So you will see, if you have a list of students over there, that those students with the most open alerts are going to be at the top, and then by alphabetical order. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. I want to take a moment and also look at the top of the screen. So at the top, you're going to see some different tabs. Home is obviously where we are right now. The group section would allow you to use a demographic piece of data, whether maybe you're looking for specifically freshmen, or maybe you want to look, you'd like to, within your advisee list, you would really like to group out your athletes or group out specific concentrations or any type of demographic factor that demographic piece of information that we are putting into the system, you're able to group them out and actually send emails to them or communication, or understand a little bit more about your advisee list. And if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and go to the next screen. All right, so now as we're on the home screen, those of you that are kind of following along, if you look to the left-hand side under notations, you see a large blue button. That create notation button is going to allow you to post an update, an alert, an encouragement on a specific student. I point out on the screen here that you're able to also submit a concern or update, which is posting a notation right from Brightspace. And that will open up what's called the quick notification tool. The other location that you can post a notation is where we just mentioned, right here on the beacon screen. So once you click that, if you want to kind of walk along, you're going to then select what type of notation are you providing. Is it going to be an update, which most of your notations probably will be that. However, if that information has become time sensitive and is really asking for immediate action, you might select alert. And then hopefully if you're able to provide some encouragement to our students, then you'll be able to select that. When you're posting a notation, I think one of the things that you want to think about is, as you're posting the information, you are able to select or check the box that allows the student visibility of this notation. And so some people think, well, okay, but how does the student see this? Where are they going to see this information? Students do have the ability to log into Beacon and see their profile, their record. And so if you were to select that you did want the student's ability to see that notation, if they were to log in, they would see the notation there on their profile. However, I do want to point out that by selecting that box for students' visibility, the student will also receive an email notification. And as many of you as faculty advisors have been possibly receiving daily digests, so once a day, you might be receiving that email notification showing the different information that's coming in to the system. The student will also see that if you select this box. All right, so why? Why is it important to determine a category? I think that we've already spoke about that earlier in today's presentation, but please make sure that is probably one of the most important steps, is to identify the category of information that you're sharing so that we have the right responders seeing the information and acting upon it. Really quick with providing details as you create a notation, make sure that you include the course. Here I have an example of Econ 123 in those details so that whether it's other individuals within the Students Success Network who do have access to the notations in their Beacon login, that they'll be able to quickly identify which course are you specifically teaching that this student is associated with. And then we would love to just know kind of like, what are the steps that have you taken to make sure that, like, if you've called 5 and 6 times, maybe we're going to take a different avenue of trying to get a hold of that student. And so allowing us to know what those actions are would be really helpful. Hannah has already spoken about the how should I say this document? And we're going to make sure that we get that out to you via email. And that's going to be an extremely helpful resource to just get your mind thinking about how you may want to tell us information about missed class or connectedness, depending on the concern. All right, Hannah, we'll go ahead and take the next screen. So now we're going to take us back to the home page. Okay, so if you were practicing along with posting a notation, go ahead and just clear that out. We'll head back to the home page. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to look at the left side of the home screen. And I think this is going to be really, really valuable for those of you that have a large number of advisees and you're trying to sift through a number of notations that have been coming through. And you really want to interact with that notation to make sure everyone has the valuable data that we need. So the first thing I want to point out is that, again, you will be able to see notations that you have submitted. And therefore, if there have been any replies, you're going to be able to see that information over here on the left-hand side of the home screen. But you're also going to be able to see any notation that was submitted by the Student Success Network or administrative notations. A Success Network notation is going to be, for example, an athletic coach, a student success coach, possibly the director of international affairs, accessibilities, anyone who is tied to a student, connected to a student in a way that we feel it's very valuable for them to see and support the students outside of the classroom. Administrative notations, you may have seen recently that we were sharing with students that it's time to apply for graduation, or that there is a possibility of being dropped for non-payment. So those administrative notations are going to be more alerts and notifications specifically to the student that we also wanted you as faculty advisors or instructors to know. As you can see, the little blue buttons on the right-hand side of the notation screen allows you to sort and filter. Filtering is so very important because it's going to allow you to quickly see who's having troubles with attending classes. Who has recently been suggested that they should withdraw from a class? By you filtering out that, you can be very productive in the time that you're within Beacon. Or maybe you're looking for a specific notation. You're like, you know, I know that I posted this notation about student A. I do not know what has happened. I don't know who's replied, who's been acting on it. And I need to find that notation that was created by myself. And so there's an, when you click on filters, you'll be able to select different factors, one being created by me. Once you filter and hit apply, then you're able to see that specific notation. And by clicking the quote, view more, you're going to be able to see any and all replies by fellow faculty members, by our Student Success Network members across campus, and then be able to see that it has been resolved or that the student has been provided all the valuable resources that they need. All right, let's go ahead and head off to the next screen.
Melanie, I hate to interrupt. I think we're at like less than 3 minutes. So I was going to say, if we could, yeah, when I don't even know what happens when it hits 40.
Yeah, not a problem.
If everyone could, when we get kicked out, if you could just hit the Zoom link again, I'm assuming, and then we'll just come back in and finish up. So sorry for the inconvenience there, but
No
we'll be back.
problem, Jason. Why don't you give me the 1 minute alert, and I'm going to try to get through this so that we can wrap up and have everything in the time that we need.
No problem. I can do that.
All right, so the last information that I want to point out is now we're going to move to the right side of the home screen. As I mentioned earlier, this is the list of your advisees or other people you may be connected to because of your role on campus. Again, the information, the students are sorted by open alerts and then by alphabetical. The nice thing too is there's a filtering option and a following option right here on the home page. I really suggest that you star any student that you are working with today or during maybe the week, especially during advising sessions. That following, you can follow and unfollow as often as you want. It kind of filters out a specific group of students that you may need to get to their profiles very quickly because you're having student meetings with them. All right, so now if you're joining with us or you're on the video and you're kind of going along with us, I'd like for you to go ahead and click on one student name. As you can see, the student names are in blue and underlined. That's because you have the link to go directly to their profile. We do call these records. I think a lot of people like to say profile, but it is a student record. And I want to point out the 3 tabs that are on that student page. You're going to see a tab for academics, which is extremely valuable because it's going to show you course enrollment during the current term, or you can select past terms to identify whether or not that student received a positive final grade, midterm grade, and so forth. You're going to be able to see whether or not the student withdrew and so forth. The demographic tab is going to give you great information about housing. Are they on campus, off campus, incoming GPAs, and so forth. And the last tab I wanted to mention is the involvement tab. And that's just going to let you know if they're involved with any specific type of groups on campus or different events that they've attended. So I know for the sake of time, I am going to go ahead and wrap up. We're hopeful that if you're watching this video, maybe after today, that you're able to take some time to walk through Beacon with everything that we've mentioned and get familiar with some of those features. Hannah and I are going to send out an email that's going to connect all faculty to the resource page that she mentioned to at the beginning. And it too has very